Thank you for joining me again. My name's Katie Hopkins and I'm in conversation with Tommy Robinson. So where we're at in terms of our story, Tommy's just been moved from a relatively safe prison for no reason. The prison officer in the new prison, Onley, said it's above my pay grade. So the government decides to move Tommy to a prison where the Muslim population is 1 in 3. The prison officer has told Tommy there is now a risk, a threat to his life. And Tommy's been told he needs to self-isolate but refuses to do so. So Tommy, what happens next? Presumably they need to isolate you.
Yeah, if I'd have self-isolated and made their job easy, because then I'd have isolated myself, and because I go back to 2012 when I spent time in solitary confinement, I know what that's going to do to me.
You know what solitary confinement will do.
I know that at the time when I think it's fine, and when I come out of prison I know the side effects I faced.
And it's not fine. So now they need to isolate you.
So then they've isolated. So then they took me down the block, which is the punishment area of the prison, where you're put in a cell, you have nothing in the cell.
Did your cell have a number on the door?
Yeah, so I was in cell 6.
Cell 6 on the block. This is the punishment block.
Punishment block where people who have had fights or robbed or stabbed or boiling water or any of these sort of attacks you'll put down there.
And presumably if you're if I'm a paedophile, I'm pretty likely to end up there because otherwise I'm going to be killed.
Oh no. So when you get into prison, if you ask for protection, you go on a separate wing with where paedophiles are, where everyone on that wing knows that they can't go in other areas, so then they don't cause any trouble. So
this is different.
Paedophiles are housed very separately. But I wouldn't. They try to say, "Oh, you need to go on the numbers." It's called the numbers. I'm never going to go on the numbers.
With the paedophiles?
Yeah, I'll end up again in another court case for hurting a paedophile. Because I haven't done anything wrong to need.
So they're taking you to the block into cell 6.
Take me to the block. They shut me in the block, and then I'm here. I've moved from Hull, where I was out of my cell regularly. Where again, I put in to say that in my first complaints in those first weeks, I said, "You're punishing me because you are." Because every prisoner, there's 750 prisoners in Hull prison, in Onley prison, and 749 have got a TV.
I understand, but take me to your cell.
Yep.
Take me in cell 6.
It's a mat that's on a. So you have a bit of concrete that high and a blue mat on it.
So this is your bed.
Your bed.
Your bed is a concrete stage.
Yeah, with a blue mat.
With those mats. I know these rubber mats from hospital.
In a normal cell, your rubber mat's that thick. This is with the blue mat.
Yeah, the thin, like a foam pad.
Like a foam pad, yeah.
But covered in a thick blue, white clean surface. You've got that. What else have you got?
That's it. That's it. And
have you got a toilet?
You've got a toilet. Yeah, you've got the toilet.
You've got a concrete block. You've got a foam pad. You've got a sheet.
You get a sheet, yeah.
And you've got a toilet.
Yeah, you've got a toilet.
And have you got anything else? No TV,
you have to understand that in these cells, they're cells that you can't smash anything.
You can't break anything.
You can't break anything. You're not allowed anything. You're not allowed shaving razors. You're not allowed anything that you could use as a weapon. You're not allowed every time. So the regime when you're down the block, and remember, people who are down there for punishment, but they're only down there for 14 days, yeah? So that's how long you usually get.
But you're now in the block?
So I'm in the block, and I'm like, I know I'm serving a 13-month prison sentence.
13 months.
I've come from the safety of Hull to now you're telling me. And in fact, when the other prison staff would tell me, they said, "You'd have been killed up there."
On the wing. Tell me about life. I want to understand now. Remember, we're outsiders. You've been in this place, but we don't know. We don't know what it's like in that cell. You're now doing, in your head, 13 months. You've got to be in isolation. You've been put in the block. You've got a mattress. Tell me about your day. How many hours a day are you in that square room?
You're in there 23 and a half hours a day. And then, so you have the prison cells, say, that are here and here. And then for 30 minutes, they take you out and they put you into a cage that's looked upon by all of the cell windows.
We've got an image of this, I think, that we can share with people. So you're put in a cage like a little animal.
You're put in a cage for 30 minutes where you can then walk around for your exercise. Now, within minutes of me being put down the block, there were threats and screams and shouts because the Muslims had seen as I'm getting brought in. And what I didn't realise, which I was told, which I put a complaint in again, was that the prison imam had been telling the prison for days before I got there that he's coming.
So the prison imam in the prison knew you were coming and had pushed the word out?
Yeah, I was told that by a lad who was working in the block. So prisoners do all the jobs; they work everywhere. So you'll have the prison staff, but you'll have a prisoner whose job it is to clean and wash up,
to clean the cage,
to clean the litter, to clean the cells if you get moved. And he said, I've known since last week you come in.
He knew.
Yeah, he knew. And I said, how do you know? He goes, everyone knows. The imam was telling.
The imam told them. And what was the word out there from the imam? Was there an instruction against you?
No. So the problem is that when I was put in Wood Hill prison before, I was put in a waiting room where I was violently beaten by 3 Muslims who, it's very clear, didn't know I was going to be in that waiting room. Yeah? So they were shocked. So they just violently beat me with their hands. Giving people a pre-warning I'm coming to a prison means that they possibly could get one chance at hitting me. And once they've done that, I'd then be put down the block. Now, I wasn't going to self-isolate. They probably know I'm not going to self-isolate. That gives them an opportunity to get knives, to get blades.
To make weapons.
To be prepared. So I then put this in, I put in a complaint saying, how is the prison imam telling people?
The prison imam's told people, he's given them a week's warning. The guy said, I've known for a week you were coming. You didn't know, your family didn't know, your solicitor and your legal team certainly didn't know. But these guys now had a week to get hold of the people, because presumably these prisoners, a lot of them have mobile phones. A lot of them have, and they're not legal mobile phones, but they have ways of communicating with the outside world.
Only all prisoners got mobile phones.
So they can get
drugs,
get their drugs in, they can get their weapons in.
I watched out my window as a prisoner was beaten with a pole this big, was beaten by another prisoner. So weapons, everything.
Where were they beaten? In the cage?
No, this is once they moved me after a week to my next cell location. So I spent a week where I wrote a letter to my wife, and obviously I'm super paranoid of I know what's gone on previously in my previous prison sentences. I wrote a letter to my wife, and it was a detailing letter. Yeah.
You're right. It's all right. This is a letter to your wife from prison. You're okay.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I'll tell you now, one second.
You'll be all right.
It was a letter to my kids as well.
And what did you tell your kids?
They stopped it being sent. They didn't send it, which was the letter I sent you this morning from my solicitor, asking for a copy of the letter. And it was a letter that, for me to
tell your children and your wife.
Not details of what was happening there.
It's okay. It's all right. Take your time. Have a drink. Did you tell them that you thought you weren't going to make it?
It was details of what I believed they're going to do, yeah.
And what did you tell them they were going to do?
Which the letter that they said. So it was a.
What did you write?
It was things to tell my children the reasons.
What did you tell them? I think it's important.
I've been like this for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll have to stop because I won't be able to say so.
That's
It was me to make sure they understood why I do what I do.
You're okay. You take your time, have a drink. You wrote, so from yourself.
From myself, at that moment, it's me believing that the worst will come.
That you will die in jail.
The worst will come, and I want my children to know that. That I haven't,
You sat in your cell?
I sat in my cell. It was a 10-page letter of
to your wife?
To my wife, yeah, and my children.
And you've got, let's just for people, we're not
children.
giving details, but you've got 3 children. Are you happy saying their ages?
7, 9 and 11.
7, 9 and 11. So you wrote them a letter?
I wrote them a letter, I wrote my wife a letter. My wife letter, it's just funny because when I first got to prison, when I first got my phone call, I rang my wife and she says, have you had enough yet? Mm-hmm. But I wrote her a letter detailing that of what I want, apologies to her.
And at this point you think you're going to die?
At this point I know what they're going to do, what I believe they're going to do, and that I know no one can tell me why I was brought to that prison only. No one can tell me. So I know intentionally, and previously I've been locked in rooms with Muslims in prison, so I believe that And then in that first week in the block, I'd then been told I'm getting moved. So I said to my wife, I'm getting moved, but nothing from the outcry outside, from Lord Pearson, who's a lord in this UK, making comments to make sure I'm safe, I knew that nothing had been done to do that.
So let's just go back.
Yeah.
You're writing a letter now. You know that the Imam has told people, given people a week's notice you're coming. You know that you've seen other prisoners being beaten to bits with a blunt tool. You know that they can get hold of drugs. You've seen them with the weapons.
I know that I'm Tommy Robinson.
You know that you're Tommy
I've spoke
Robinson.
about Islam. And
what you're going to die. You've decided you're going to die. So you're sat down writing your letter to your wife and your children. And what are you telling them?
I'm telling them
What do you say to your children?
The upsetting thing that's even upsetting now is that I wouldn't want my children to think I'm going to go again.
You can go again. We'll all go in a minute. I'll go too, so then that's going to be useless. We'll all be crying. You want your children to know
that I know by doing what I do that moment will come. And I know that. And I've chose that.
And you want your children to know that you didn't choose it over them. That I identify with this totally.
Yeah,
I get it. You didn't choose this over the children. You didn't choose to leave them, but you believed in what you were doing so much.
So I detailed to my wife that it's not about them. It's not about our children. It's about every child, everyone's. And that.
And you want your children to know that you were doing it not because you were leaving.
I didn't love them. I didn't apologise for what I do, which I made clear in the letter to her, was that I'm not apologising because not for 1 minute I'm sorry for what I've done. I'm apologising for what it's caused. I'm sat there and I put in complaints and I put in a complaint saying that I'm sat here with nothing in myself. I am being punished, and then I'm being told I'll be moved. So I know when I'm moved, I'll have to go through that. It's clear to me they're not going to do anything to keep me safe. They're not trying to. Now they put. So then what they get.
Let me ask you a question in a second, because obviously for you, you're so in the detail of it. In your cell, just tell us a little bit, because many of us won't have heard about the calling, the shouting, the banging, the window.
So from the first minute I was put in there, one prisoner in the cell next door spent 6 hours all night, which I had to remind him he's in a prison cell, you can't kick through them, but he was attempting to kick through into my prison cell. And then on my first day out, so for my exercise...
In the cage,
and I know from what happened, I know I have to get out of my cell, because in the end, you don't want to get out of your cell. Because you come. I remember having, even when I had visits this time, it was exhausting to have the visit.
So you get to the point you think you can't leave your cell even to go to the cage for half an hour.
So I know that I go every day. I'd go out and walk around for 30 minutes. Now, for that 30 minutes, it would just be non-stop abuse, non-stop threats, non-stop screams.
What are they shouting?
It took them a couple of days to find out my family's names. And then it was all about my family's names.
What were they shouting? Not the names, but
I hear I'm a racist. They're going to kill me. My family going to get killed. How will it feel?
Shouting things about your son.
Mama. But to be honest, these sort of things, I'm accustomed to. I'm used to this. What I didn't expect, what in that first week, what I can understand is as this is going on is, I was fine in Hull. You've now took me somewhere where you have to isolate me. You have to put me in isolation. You know full well that 6.5 months in a room with a blue mat, without a TV and any correspondence, and then they know what that's going to do.
And do you know, at this point, do you know when you're there in that room and you're doing your cage and you get to the point where I'm not going to go in the cage, I don't even want to go in the cage, do you know that you're going slightly mad?
No, not. So I went in the cage every single day. I made sure of it. But then even in the first, which I sent you an arrest, they give me a further arrest. So in this first week, I've got all these people shouting at me every day, all night. And I shouted, which you can read up, and I said, Islam is a cancer. And I was arrested. I was given a nicking for racial hatred.
I've seen the film.
And you can see what is... and so even then I thought, right, I'm not even allowed to open my mouth in response to this.
And tell me about, and they're not being arrested obviously for threatening you, threatening your family, talking about your child, talking about abusively about your children. Tell me about the window, things being thrown through your window and your food.
So after a week, so I didn't eat. For me in the prison system, when I'm in there, once you get to spend on your canteen, you can order food. Yeah. Now, so I'm down there. I didn't eat for the first week of being in this
At all?
No, because so every time your cell door opens, so they'll open your door to put you in a shower. But when you're down the block, you have to be searched every time the door opens. So they stop you, you put up and you're searched. And there's a reason for that, because most people down there are in there for doing crazy things. I'm not. I'm also fully aware at this time, so it's feeling like an injustice. I'm fully aware I've been to a kangaroo court.
Tell me about the food, Tommy.
The food. So I would eat. So when the prison food, within a day, it's like, did you enjoy your dinner, Tommy?
So this would be the prisoners Muslims making your food.
The Muslim prisoners making your food. All of the servery in each of the wings is Muslim. They're in control of the main job,
bringing
the best
you your
jobs.
food.
My food is then taken to my cell
on a specific tray that they know is coming to you. They know it's coming to you.
With your name on it.
So they know.
Yeah, everyone knows.
And then they're saying, "Did you enjoy it?
Did you enjoy your dinner?" Yeah. So I'm not straight, and I know how easily it is. I think far ahead. I think I'm not going to die under. Anything can get smuggled into prison. Yeah, prisoners are getting mobile phones this big in. To get something that big, whether it be a drug or a rat poison or anything they want, yeah, to put into a dinner, is going to be easy. So I don't want to give that.
Because if you're going to die, you're not going to go out with
that. No, and so I didn't eat, and then I waited, and it took a week before I got a canteen. Because I've just been moved to the prison, so I didn't eat for and I actually
for 7 days.
No, and I've got that in on. I put in a complaint saying I haven't eaten. Yeah, I want some tin food. Yeah, and I'll buy it myself. Now, I then got the opportunity. So then I bought my thing. I sent you the receipts.
I've seen.
So I think I had 5.
You bought 5 cans of tuna.
5 cans of tuna. So I had a tin of tuna a day.
So that would be your routine: a can of tuna that you could open yourself.
A can of tuna that I'd have nail clippers, and I'd go around the tin of tuna
with nail clippers.
With nail clippers to get it open. Because again, you can't open.
You haven't got a can opener.
No, because I'm not allowed out of the wing.
Tell me about the prison, the window.
So after a week down the block in isolation, they then I kept complaining, and my solicitor was complaining that we'd get a judicial review. They then took me in and said, sign this. And they did give me a disclaimer, which I sent you. And the disclaimer was to say that they'd move me out of the wing there, because there's no electricity in the block, because you're there as a punishment. They'd move me out of there and put me onto the normal prison wing. And then it lists all the things. You will not be allowed to work. You will not be allowed to integrate with the prison population due to the risk of the stability of the prison. I couldn't go to church.
A list of things you weren't allowed to do.
So you're going to be moved, but you're still going to be completely on isolation. So, which is what they've done. And then when they put me on this wing, in this cell, it's on the ground floor, and the windows that open this much. It took probably, I'd still say, a week before the word had spread. That's my cell.
So now we've got the imam, the Muslim population, the prisoners running the prison. They've managed to find out where you've moved to. Now they know your window.
Now they know my window. My cell was opened. So my cell's supposed to be locked at all times. This is their thing. And the only time, then they say that the only time I'm allowed out of my cell is when the whole prison's on shutdown for lunch, between 1:30 and 2:30. And they'll bring me out of my cell. They'll walk me down to the block again. And I'd walk around the cage. And then I'd have a shower. Just little things like to have a shower there, because everyone's on lockdown, they'd lock me in the shower. And the shower's this big.
So you're now locked in a shower?
With my clothes. So I'd put my clothes in a plastic bag, I'd tie the plastic bag, I'd have the shower with my clothes on my feet. Then I'd have to get, the hot air's going nowhere, so then I'd have to get changed. It's like,
while you're all wet.
You're getting dressed in a sauna.
Tell me about the window in your block.
Your
window in your cell.
So then, it took about a week before then spit, and my cell bed, and it was good to get a cell bed with a mattress like that rather than the block, but my cell bed was, you were positioned at the window, so the window's there, so you wouldn't have a pre-warning.
So this is I'm going to use your tissue.
Yeah.
This is the window. This is your bed.
This would be my bed. This is the window here. So this is this is your bed. So the window's here. So it's not like your bed's over here. So if your window's open, which I found very quickly,
they can spit through the window.
Yeah, shit getting thrown through. So
did you hear it coming?
No.
When they're spitting?
Not until, because I'm on the ground floor. Now again, if I wasn't on the ground floor, they couldn't spit through my window.
When they're throwing human feces, their own.
This is quite regular in prison, so people understand. Prisoners
throw
throws shit, human feces at prison officers' faces.
So they're throwing it through your window?
So it's come through the window.
Well, when it comes through your window, you haven't got it's not my kitchen. You haven't got a dishcloth and a jiff and a whatever.
I just use t-shirts, but then also in the warning, which when they moved me from the block, which I wanted moving from the block because I wanted a normal bed and things like that, they say we will have to assess this situation. You see at the bottom, we will reassess the situation if there's any problems on the wing. Yeah. So then I'm put on the wing, and for a lot of it, I just once that happened, I just shut the windows. But bearing in mind, that
we've had the hottest summer on record.
I'd lay in my boxers and they were soaked.
And you're on a rubber mat bed as well. Those rubber beds. Tell me just when they're throwing shit through your window and it's landing, you're in a small space. It's very hot.
Yep.
I'm just trying to think of clearing. I suppose it's a mum thing. Clearing up. You can't clear it up. No, you can't get it out.
You clear it up and put it on. You still have a toilet in your cell.
But you've still got the stuff there.
Yeah, I know.
That's your sleeping space.
Well, and it's not even. It's like even in that sleeping space. Then I had at the door every day. At my cell door, you have a little visor every day. Just Muslims. To be honest, there was 2 Muslim lads who were absolutely sound. Like there would, and one of them was telling arguing with all the others, just saying, "Look,
give the guy a bit of a break."
And but then there's constant threats. So one of them come to my window with a message from he'd just been moved from Wood Hill prison. Wood Hill is a maximum security prison. So he gave me a message from Saif al-Islam. Saif al-Islam means Sword of Islam. He is a man who's from my hometown of Luton, who's in prison for terrorism. And he's passed in messages of what's going to happen. What's going to happen, and I need to ring home. And what you need to ring home. Your family are going to be in trouble. You need to make sure you keep ringing home. Now, the only time I'm allowed out of my cell.
Just for clarity, so you're getting a message now through your door, through the flap in your door, from a terrorist inside another maximum security prison. That message has got from him to a transporter, to a person that's brought the message to your door, another Muslim, telling you want to be worrying about your family.
Yeah.
Now you want to be worrying about your mum and your wife.
Yeah. So you want to be worrying about your family, and the problem I had is that between 1:30 and 2:30, which is when they take me down to the block from the only time I'm allowed out of my cell. So in that, I'm supposed to walk around the cage for 30 minutes. I get locked in the shower, and I have a phone call. My wife is at work, she can't answer the phone, and my children are at school. So I can't speak to
You can't ask them. Now tell me, Tommy, you've had a terrorist in another prison, Sword of Islam, saying you need to be thinking about your family. What happens now with your wife at home?
So I've had so many of these threats, and I don't know if this was connected to this, but I had my cell door opened at 9 o'clock at night saying, "Where's your wife?"
So who's opened your door?
3 prison officers.
3 prison officers. Let's go through it.
Yeah.
Do they just open it? They just hear the keys.
I heard the keys, and it's
open the door.
And you know what? You get into a routine, so it's strange for you to talk about. I'm thinking,
because you're a little caged animal. Yeah, they're opening the door at 9 o'clock at night. And what do they say?
They said, "Where's your wife?" And I said, "Well, how am I meant to know? Because I'm angry because I don't get to use the phone to speak to them." And they said, "Where's your wife?" And I said, "Why?" They said, "Police are trying to find her." I said, "Why?" They said, "There's intelligence that she's going to be attacked with acid."
So 9 o'clock at night, where's your wife? Like you're supposed to have some connection.
How can we get in contact with her?
How can we find her? And they're saying she's going to be attacked with acid.
There's intel. We have intel that she's going to be attacked with acid. And then because I'm conscious of I know what this prison sentence was about. It was to destroy me. Yeah, I know that they have my medical and health records, so they know what problems I had after 2012.
Your mental health issues after that.
Solitary confinement.
Tell me. I've seen the letter. They've sent a letter to your wife warning her she's going to be a victim of an acid attack.
They went to my house with my children in it. They knocked. They visited. They're very nice, yeah. But they said, we have intel. You're going to become under attack with acid.
You're going to be attacked with acid. Now, you're saying it again as if it's normal, Tommy, or something that might happen. For our audiences, American audiences, people that don't live in the way that you and I have come under attack, they're knocking at your wife's door. Yeah. You've got 3 little children there, and you're, my children, our children, and they're saying you're going to be attacked with acid.
And they gave her a little leaflet
that tells you how to deal with acid.
How to deal with an acid attack.
Which is basically wash, rinse.
But then, when this is happening, in my head. I mean, and then it's like, I didn't sleep at all that night.
But also you're thinking, my wife's going to be attacked with acid.
Is my wife going to be attacked with acid? Is this part of this what they're doing, which is purposely moving me to a situation? Is this part of the mental campaign?
Or this is real?
Or is this real? To say I didn't sleep, I was waiting and waiting. Then I had to wait to try and get a phone the next day.
To try and see if she's okay.
To say, yeah. And then 2 days after that, they then went to my mum's.
Did the same?
Done exactly the same.
No.
You're
going to be attacked with acid. So your mum's a 60-year-old lady.
Yep.
And they're telling you this as well. So you're inside knowing this.
Yeah, I'm inside knowing it. And
you've got a terrorist in another prison telling you that this was going to happen, and then you've got police almost actioning what a terrorist inside another prison said was going to happen. Is that not utterly mad, Tommy?
It's utterly mad to anyone else who's sitting here who doesn't understand what's gone on for the last 10 years.
And also, Tommy, if we take this back, you're a guy who had his phone recording outside a court.
Yeah, this is
what you're doing inside.
I'm recording facts and telling the truth. And people say, and do you know when all this is going on? I saw a human rights lawyer done an interview, and obviously between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock every day I'd read my mail, because I've got so much mail.
People wrote you letters.
And I was reading about a human rights lawyer who was detailing again why I should be in jail. And I'm sitting there thinking, my human rights are being abused every day of this sentence.
I'm just thinking about this from sort of my situation or anyone else's situation that knows what it's like to slightly be a target. Your wife now is supposed to go about her day knowing she's been informed by the police that she's going to be a victim of an acid attack, or there's intelligence. She's got 3 children. She's trying to get in a car, out a car, to school, or to see people. How does she, not wishing to bring your wife anywhere near this, but how's she even dealing with it? Does she not just want to lock everyone in a cupboard and never come out? Because I think that's what I would want to do.
Well, their advice, remember this previous to this, I've had 6 of these Osman warnings from the government that people are going to kill us. And the government's advice is we have to leave. Their advice is leave and leave now.
Leave the country?
Leave. They offered me a witness, but this was in the early years. They offered me a relocation, name, identity change.
But now for your wife at home, was it leave? Leave?
You're not allowed to. In fact, on the form that I sent you, it says you're not allowed to have a weapon on you. You're not allowed. So it basically
it tells your wife you're going to be attacked by acid,
but
you're not allowed to do anything about it. I read that. You're not allowed to have a weapon. And for an American audience, the idea that 3 policemen will come and say, you're going to be attacked with acid, but please be aware, you're not allowed to protect your sets, you're not allowed to protect yourself.
You're not allowed to. We had a panic button in our house, and I pressed it, and it took the police 50 minutes to come.
50. It's not much of a panic button.
No.
So this is you, and this is the physical and mental torture. Let me ask you one last question on this. You knew you were going to die. You'd reconciled that this would happen, and you'd written your letter to your wife and children explaining.
And they didn't send the letter.
They kept hold of that letter.
They refused to send it.
How did you imagine, because I've been somewhere near this in my own situations, how did you reconcile that you would be killed? Did you think about how it would happen and that it would hurt and that you would accept that pain? Where did you go with that?
I just believed that I was going to be moved prison again. That's what I was told. So in my first week, when I was down the block, I was told that they'd be moving me again. So I knew that they'd give one opportunity where they have an opportunity to get me, which has happened 3 times.
So you knew there'd be a moment?
I thought they're going to get a moment to get me.
You'd be got.
And all I wanted to, which I couldn't say earlier because I was thinking too much, all I wanted to tell my children is the reasons why, make sure they understood that I done this because I love you, that's why I done it. And and I actually said no. I actually sent a letter to Jenna. This is not a suicide letter, just so you know. I said this is I need to say these things so that I can know that if things happened, I've said it to my. Yeah.
You've told your children that you did it because you love them.
And lots of it, yeah. And then so then I see that when they haven't been able to give that opportunity. Where they've isolated me, it's now that I'm going to spend the 13-month prison sentence on complete isolation. And you know what's weird? It is strange, yeah. And I'm glad I got out after 2 months. After 2 months of solitary confinement, but the not speaking
Not
at all.
speaking to anyone.
At all. So you don't.
You never use your you never use your mouth. You never hear
No,
a sound. You don't
you're
hear
not
your own
talking,
voice.
No, so you're just not.
So when you
and at the
first
top-
came out, Tommy,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I watched you come out, and my first heart as a mum, actually, before anything else, was, oh God, he's not been eating, because it's one of the things you text your children, are you eating, are you eating? You were about half the size of anything we've never met before, but I've seen pictures of you.
I couldn't eat, and I begged them. I said,
But when you came out, did your voice sound, was it odd to hear your voice?
Yeah, but my voice was. Everyone said how your voice doesn't, and then whether it's because I was malnourished.
Everyone said what?
That you don't sound right.
You don't
in
sound
your
right.
voice.
Your voice didn't sound the same.
No, that's what
Did your
everyone-
children notice your voice was different?
You know, with my children, they're difficult. So. Okay.
I think children. I think this is where, if we lock someone up, it's been a learning for me too.
I think people
We
need to
don't
understand that.
just lock up a man. We lock up a dad. And whatever differences we have. You and I have had plenty of times. I've called you an arsehole plenty of times.
Yeah.
Whatever difference we had at the level of parents, we totally understand.
When you sentence someone, you don't sentence them, you sentence their family. But that's intentional as well on so anything that they could play off, they done everything they possibly could.
To talk to you and said, let me just ask you the last question about your voice and this not talking.
Yep.
Have you learning to talk? Are you still getting used to talking?
No, it's interacting. So went for in 2012. It's which I never spoke about. I went to the doctor as soon as I come out because I'm not right. I know I'm not right.
Yeah. You know you're not right.
And you know how angry it makes me.
And you're angry. You know you're not right now. This isn't who you are. I see. Tommy, we'll take a little short pause there. We'll take a short pause here, and we'll come back with Tommy again in a moment to talk about the next steps of Tommy's life, what's going to happen. Tommy's got to go back to court, and we'll catch up with Tommy about how he sees his future, if any future.